Hello, hello, hello. Elisa Day here, and welcome back to my podcast. And if it's your first time listening to me, welcome. More than likely, it is your first time listening to me because I have privated and unlisted most of my podcasts, and are only available for listen on my website, which I will list in the description. But yeah, so I hope everyone's having a great day today. And if you're not, then it will get better. Promise me, it will. Um, oh my gosh. Yes, December. It is ending and January is coming. And I would say that I'm excited for it, but I'm like nervous AF. I'm so nervous. I am. Like, I really am excited for the start of a new year, but at the same time, the way I'm looking at it, especially the way things are going now, I'm like, I don't know, sis. I don't know. I really don't know. Oh my gosh, but I'm excited because it's like literally ending a chapter, starting a new one. So I guess I could be excited in that aspect. But welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm just going to get right into what I'm going to be talking about because it's going to be a lengthy podcast. And it's a podcast that I have been waiting to do. I've been waiting a while to do this podcast because it's something near and dear to my heart. And something that I have been going through for the past 3 years, and that is my Saturn return. And for those who don't know astrology, those who are new to it or have no clue what I'm talking about, a Saturn return is basically a quarter life crisis. And everyone knows or should know what a quarter life crisis is. It's kind of like a midlife crisis, but in your late 20s. It makes you a better person than what you were before, and actually it matures you. It really brings you into adulthood, because me personally, in my 20s, I was not mature at all, but after going through this, I could finally say I am an adult. I have arrived. So, yeah, that's what a Saturn return is. And a little background on Saturn itself, the energy of Saturn. Saturn is an earth sign, and to me, Saturn reminded me of like a strict parent. It'll get your butt in line. For real. Saturn does not play with BS. It really puts its foot down, and it really makes you learn some things. And with Saturn returns, it does go by generation. Me, since I was born in 1990, I am part of the Saturn and Capricorn generation, which runs from about 1988 into a little bit of 1991. So I could say I'm at an advantage because Capricorn is at home in Saturn energy. So I could say that I was at an advantage, but at the same time, I could say that I was not. And I'll get to that in a little bit. But yeah, so I'm part of that. And basically, the energy for Saturn and Capricorn is just like, it was hard. It's like harsh energy, and because it was there, it really made me. I felt like I had to work harder. I felt like it really pushed me to my boundaries because it was at home, and it probably felt like, you should know this by now. You should be able to do this. I'm at home here. Like, what the f are you doing? Like, you're messing up. You're messing up. Like, and it was like harsh, but at the same time it was still forgiving because it was in a place where it felt comfortable in. And me personally, my Saturn fell into my fourth house, which is ironically home. And anybody that knows astrology knows about the astrological wheel. You know where fourth house lands at on that wheel. So, and if not, you can look it up on Google. But yeah, it landed in my fourth house. But it was not in Capricorn. It was in Cancer because I am a Libra ascendant. And depending on where your ascendant is at in your chart, that's where Saturn or any of your signs would fall. So, unfortunately, mine was in Cancer, which is a water house, which is known for emotions and feeling at home and feeling at peace and all that great things that Cancer has to offer. But because Saturn was sitting up in there, I definitely struggled with feeling at home in home. I really did, which I'm going to mention in my points pretty soon. But yeah, I really had a hard time because that energy was sitting there. It's not supposed to be sitting there. All because it's in the fourth house. Yeah, it's at home, but it's the energy of that house. So I have really been through the ringer with that concept though for the past 3 years, feeling at home in my home. Not just physically, but also emotionally and mentally too. It's definitely was a mental thing for me. And not only that, but also I had a few planets conjunct Saturn as well. And for a lucky few out there, some people have just Saturn in just that house, and they're just smooth sailing. They're not gonna get bombarded with everything else. But for those who aren't and have other planets in the same house with Saturn, not only you have to learn Saturn's lessons, but you have to learn when Saturn hits those points in the chart, will hit that point in that house, because Saturn, or any planet for that matter, it moves through a house at certain degrees. So let's say, well, I'm going to use myself as an example. I have I don't know how you say this planet. I have Uranus in the same house, and also Neptune. So when Saturn hit those degrees, which were, I think, do I have them later degrees too? Yeah, they're close to my Saturn degrees. So when Saturn hit those degrees, not only did I feel the energy of Saturn, but I felt the energy of Neptune, and I felt the energy of Uranus, which really doubled me over. It really did. It really I got a double whammy of energy coming at me. So I had to learn those lessons too. So when someone said that they're going through it and they're 27, 28, don't take it lightly, because 9 times out of 10 they likely are going through it. And there's a whole bunch of other things that you can learn about Saturn returns. It's out there on the internet. I'm not gonna get too much into it because I could talk about it all day. I could, but I'm gonna get into the things that the Saturn has taught me, or should I say the energy of Saturn has taught me. Now, disclaimer, these points are unique and personal for me, and not everyone is going to go through this. Not everyone who has Capricorn and Saturn gonna go through this, because like I said before, the energy is unique depending on where Saturn lands at in the chart. So if it's in the fourth house, it's in the fourth house. If it's the seventh house, it has a seventh house energy. So not two persons' Saturn returns are going to be the same. They could be similar, they have similar themes, but they're not going to be the same. It's unique to each person. So the stuff I'm going to mention is unique to me, and you may or may not experience this or have had experienced this, but I have. So yes, I'm going to get started. Okay, the first point that I came up with was growing pains is real. And what I meant by that is, growing up, it hurts, because there were things that I thought I knew, but I found out that I didn't know, and it was things that I had to find out for myself. And it was a lot. I can't even explain what I have found out during my Saturn return, but it was a lot. And there's a lot also that I had to work on, and a lot of what I didn't have to work on, but it really opened my eyes to what I needed for myself and what I needed to grow into an adult. I'll just put it that way. But the next point is hard work. And I worked my butt off during my Saturn return. And even a little bit before then, I was set up for hard work. Saturn was all because I'm up in here at home in your home doesn't mean anything. You're still going to work. You're still going to learn the the basics of hard work. And I ended up in jobs that no one, well, a lot of people look down on. I worked at fast food and I worked in retail. So, a lot of people don't like those jobs because they feel like they're beneath them, but I did them because it was part of my Saturn return. I had to learn hard work. I have to say that I never worked hard in my life, which I've always worked hard, but it was more like on a mental and educational plane because I was a smart kid, so growing up. So I always worked hard at that at school, but I never worked hard like in the physical. I never had to lift anything. I never had to mop floors at a job. I never had to clean the bathroom at a job. Like, this return taught me how to do that, and it really did. It worked my little fingers to the bone. And I was not making anything. Well, I was making stuff, but it wasn't like it wasn't really livable wage. So, you know, I really did. When I said I worked hard for my money, I really did work hard for my money because I was barely making anything. But anyway, next point is my passions will not be my job, but will make cool hobbies. And I just recently learned this because throughout my whole entire Saturn return, my main theme was figuring out, what do I need to do on this planet? What do I need to do on this earth? Oh my god, I feel so useless. I'm not doing anything that I'm supposed to be doing. Oh my gosh, help me. I was really belly aching over that because I felt like I wasn't doing anything. At that time, I was working at fast food at that time, and I really felt low. I really felt bad because I'm here mopping floors, and I said I need to be out there helping people. Like, oh my gosh, like, because at that time I became more aware. I wouldn't say I became woke because I hate that, but I did become more aware of society and what society needed at the time. And I just felt like I was not doing anything to contribute, and I really felt lazy. So I was really set on finding my purpose. And it wasn't until like recently, like after I turned 30 back in May, I really just was comfortable with the fact like, hey, maybe I just need to focus on what I need to be doing instead of what's going on out there. But anyway, yeah, that was my main thing, is trying to find my thing. So I was trying like various different types of ways to try to give back. I did do podcasting for a little bit, but that never really took off because the topics that I had were, I wouldn't say they weren't from the heart, because they were, but I don't know, they weren't really moving. And then, what else did I try? Let's see, I tried to do song covers, so that didn't really pan out. I tried to do, painting. I did watercolors, and that didn't really pan out. And I also got into fitness, but that was like more of a personal thing. But out of all those things I have tried, and also I did write a book, but it's not like a book, but it's just like something I considered a book. But anyway, I wrote a book, and that didn't really pan out either. But out of all the experiences, I learned like, hey, I actually enjoy doing all these things. They don't really have to be my profession per se, but they can just be for fun. And especially now in this society, everyone's like, oh, do what you love for a job, follow your passion, da 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 da. And I think that's like the biggest hoax out there, because we have destinies and we can ignore our destinies. Like, yeah, we can have passions, we have like that all day long, but if we have a destiny, especially me, like I've been had a calling since I was younger, but it's a long story. Long story short, I ignored it, but the Saturn return made me come back to it twofold. So all of us have destinies, and we need to follow those instead of following our passion. So I'm gonna end it there, because this podcast will go on forever if I get started on that. The next point is, which is one of my favorites actually, and it is stop running away. And it's more of a spiritual concept more than like a physical. And I have dealt with this since I was like about 18. And actually, my Saturn return was based on stuff that I experienced when I was 18. Now that I look back on it, it really did. And I'm just gonna be like straight honest. Straight honest. Yeah. Wow. What a great use of words. I'm just gonna be completely honest. When I was 18, like I said before, I had a calling. And I felt like I messed it up. Now I look back on it, I know I didn't mess it up. But when I was 18, I thought I messed it up because I wasn't excelling. What can I say? Excelling. There you go. Excelling in the area that I was supposed to be in. And I found out that a lot of people that are successful in that field weren't successful at it at first either. So now I really feel, I wouldn't say stupid, but I really just feel like I wasted my time. But anyway, I ran away from my calling, and it came back to bite me when my Saturn return had started. Hence is why I had the jobs that I had, why I had to work my fingers to the bone, is because I ignored my calling. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, karma, this karma. I believe that's what my karma was. Like, I was like, okay, you're going to ignore me, so here you go. Like, you're going to work at, like, the bottom of the bottom, and that's going to be your lesson until you learn, like, this is where you were at when you were 18 is where you're supposed to have been at, sis. Like, so get the mop in. You're going to learn this lesson right now. And by the time December 2020 roll around, you're going to want to go back. You're going to want to go back to where you were when you were 18. And yeah. So I was running from that because it was such a, to me it was huge. But at that time at 18, I had like a lot of other stuff. I was not mentally okay. I had like a lot of stuff from my childhood I had to face, but I didn't have no place to get help for it. Yes, I was urged, like in my soul, I was urged to go get therapy, but at that time, especially being black, going to a therapist was like literally like taboo at that time, so I didn't go. And I should have went when I was 18. I know I should have went. Like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? Also, I was trying to figure out, around 18 is like, especially for me personally, I was trying to figure out like who I was as a person. Like, did I actually want to do what I was called to do, or was that just a hoax? Like, was I just being used for my talent in that area? So, yeah, so by 21, I literally abandoned shit on my destiny, and I completely went in an opposite direction, which yielded no results because that wasn't really the direction I was supposed to go in. But yeah, so basically I have been running since, and I found a pattern within that too. Like, anything that I felt comfortable in or I would just run. I don't know, it was like it wasn't, I want to say, it was like unconscious. Like, I didn't realize that I was running. And yeah, that's probably why I felt tired. Because I'm done running. I felt so tired yesterday. I felt like I could sleep forever. Like, I could. Like, I was like really tired yesterday evening. But that's because I spent like the past 12 years running. And I finally stopped running and I accepted my destiny and my fate. So now that I accepted it, hopefully everything will go smoothly now. Oh my gosh, what did I do to myself? Okay, the next point is some situations can't be fixed, and this goes with the other point that I also written down. Disconnect is needed, and this has to do with like people, and it could be with places and things. But me personally, it's with people. I don't really have a good track record with a person in my family. Like, I try to have like a connection with them, but it's not working because they weren't really around during like my early years of development. And it's like a psychology thing. Like, the I think up to age 7 is like a major part of a child's development. And yeah, so that person was not around during those times of development. So from those years up until now, I really had a hard time with them, like relating to them and just being around them, because they weren't there. They were like breathed in and out, like they weren't there. The other figure in my life was there like all the time. So when I was like 28, 29 or something like that, I really came to realize like, hey, I can't fix this. And that's why I spent time in therapy trying to figure this out too. I'm like, how can I like mend this relationship between me and this person? I don't know how to do it. And my therapist, therapists can only do so much, but I realized that it was a personal thing I had to do. So me, for my sanity and for my spirit and stuff, I decided to go no contact with this person. And it's that I had nothing against them. Like, I really still do love them because they're my blood, they're my family. But at the same time, it hurts me to try to make up for lost time. Like 25 years is a long time of not being in somebody's life. So instead of me trying to go back to yesteryear and trying to reclaim those years back, I decided to cut the relationship off altogether and just focus on my development. And I've been cool ever since. And a lot of people is like, well, you can build a relationship with them now, but it's kind of hard when you don't have history with that person, especially if that person is in your immediate family. It's different when you make friends with somebody that's outside of that, like just make friends with somebody, then you could say like, oh, you can start over because that person does not know you at all. So you do have that sense when they're blood, when they actually like help born you, it's really hard to have relationships. I'm a big relationship person. I do take all my relationships, friendships, family, like all that seriously. So for me to have to do this, it really hurt me, but I had to do it. Like, I really do. I have no hard feelings against them. It's just, I just can't be around somebody that I pretty much don't know. So that's what I had to do. Okay, next point is mental health is everything. And I kind of touched upon this in the last point, that I was seeing a therapist. And I actually seen a therapist twice between 2017 and up until last year, because I had gone through like a lot. The first time I went to therapy was for my family trauma, which was a roller coaster ride. And oh my gosh, a lot of stuff. I'm still unpacking a lot of stuff. It's easier now to do it because I know how to do it. But when I was in therapy, it was really hard because I really had to come to realization of a lot of things, and it helped me figure out why I do certain things, or why certain things had turned out the way they turned out, and all this other stuff. And then the second time I went was for oh my gosh, I was it was like a similar, I wouldn't say like a similar thing, it was like completely different. I'm just gonna say it. I was like in a cult, and I didn't know how to cope with reality once I got out of there, because my whole time was spent with those people. So when I got out, I definitely went back into therapy to try to get a grasp on why and people did what they did. And therapy really didn't, I mean, it helped, but the rest of the work I really did on my own. Therapy did give me the tools, but I just decided to use them to help me get over that. So yeah, so mental health is everything, and especially in like ethnic communities, more specifically to me, the Black community. A lot of people do not go to see a therapist or talk to a psychologist or anything because they're afraid that they're going to get inside their mind and, mess with them. But it's no. A therapist, psychologists are only going to help you as long as you help yourself. The only information they go by is what you give them. So, they can't really do anything. But yeah, so I broke that stigma on that going to a therapist is taboo. Like, I broke that. So yeah, mental health is everything. If you don't have your mental health, then you really basically don't have anything.